Welcome to the We Can Do It Women movement, where women 60 and wiser step into the spotlight and make the rest of their lives the best of their lives. I'm your host, Deborah Morrison, a wealth building expert. And for over 47 years, yeah, it was child labor, I've helped women secure their financial futures. And now I'm on a mission to ignite a revolution, showing the world that at 60, 70, and beyond, we're not slowing down. Oh, maybe a nickel, but we're really getting started. We're just getting started. And today's We Can Do It Women Expert interview features Mary Bartnikowski. I had it right. Bartnikowski, I'm good. A professional photographer and a solo world traveler, and so much more, coming to us tonight from Half Moon Bay, California. Mary, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Deborah. This is so much fun. Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
I think we're going to have a delightful time. And so I want to introduce you a little bit more to our viewing audience because you have an impressive life and very enviable in many respects for some of us that have that travel bug. And so I want to get right in that. You are an award-winning photographer. Your photography is beautiful. You have
Thank you.
solo traveled to 35 countries, you guys, 35 countries. You are based in Palo Alto, California, with nearly 40 years of professional experience, and you're best known for your executive portraits and for leading photo retreats in Italy, France, and Mexico. In addition to your photography, you're also recognized as a freelance book ghostwriter. Everybody listen up, because if you don't want to write your own book, there are people out there like Mary that are proficient in doing so. And a copywriter and a blogger and an educator. She focuses on topics such as travel, of course, personal development, and aging and retirement. She's led programs and spoken at notable organizations, including Apple, Stanford, Intel, and the University of Hawaii. Oh, yeah, really boring, huh, Mary? Really amazing. Congratulations and welcome. I want you just to start and talk with us about how you got started in photography, because boy, you've had a great career in that.
Well, you know how I got started with weddings? I photographed 725 weddings, and this was totally just, I'm going to take a risk and see if I can do candid wedding photography when no one was doing it in Silicon Valley.
Wow.
Absolutely no one. Now a lot of people are, saying they're doing candid photography, but it was all stiff and formal. And I
Yeah,
thought,
the
ooh, I don't want to
pants and
do
the
that. I didn't want to do that.
I know, I know.
And so the first year was 2 weddings. The next year was 27. The next year was 49. And then off and running to 725 weddings. And the thing about weddings, if you're doing wedding photography in a way that's very different, or any kind of photography,
Right.
then you're going to stand out. So you can actually be a photographer and get paid for it. You just have to do something different and be darn good at it.
Now that is such a key component, because I do dabble in photography and I love it. I started with a Pentax Spotmatic F when I was in college, and I took a little photography course. And there's some very funny stories about that. But then I graduated to a Nickermat, and then I went to a Nikon and a full manual F2A Photomic head. I mean, the thing weighed like, like take almost a, backpack. Um, but it was a gorgeous camera. And now I
Mm-hmm.
have a fully automatic D7. I should know this off the top of my head, right? A D750. Okay, that and a bag of chips. But I love the challenge. And so, like yourself, I had some friends that knew I had taken some pretty good photographs. And they said, would you do our wedding? Because we really can't afford it and everything. I was like, all right. And they did bring in somebody for all the poses and whatnot, because I love, to your point, I love to take so I put the telephoto lens on so I wouldn't have to be so, obvious to people. And I'd end up with pictures like from here up of people like with great expressions. And I
Mm-hmm.
loved it. So I am a sister from a different mister, maybe in that regard, because it is such a beautiful thing to be able to do the candids, because it's
Yes.
up, nobody knows. Okay, you didn't get him. So I'm going, oh, right. But anyway, the rest of it is very much amazing. So you have clients, the likes of Google, Yahoo, Hewlett Packard, Apple, angel investors, CEOs, authors, families, and startups. And this has given you, I think, a very, very wide lens, if you will, a wide angle lens in terms of being able to photograph indoor, outdoor, light, natural light, umbrella light. Talk to me about what's your favorite setting to shoot photographs.
Natural light outside under the canopy of a tree. In fact, Half Moon Bay, where I am right now, they almost always have cloud cover and it's perfect for portraits.
Yeah. I know
Oh,
everybody wants a big sunny day. No, no, no.
no, don't want it. Everybody squints.
Yeah.
The only people that look good in the sun are 4-year-olds.
That's adorable. Okay. Now, how did you get invited? You had 11 one-woman exhibitions in San Fran and Palo Alto, and you've been in art investor collections, most recently with Lululemon. I mean, that's a great company. I
Mhm.
mean, you have a great reputation. We're going to get to, a very famous man that you photographed in here in a second, but if you want to answer that instead. But these are some very, very prestigious invites that you're getting to do one woman exhibitions. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, after when I started traveling, that's when I realized I could actually do exhibitions.
Mhm.
And then while I was traveling, how I got to photograph the Dalai Lama was I was in India and I was living down the street from the Dalai Lama.
Too good. Too
And
good.
and so his translator, I see him in a restaurant and I thought, I was so scared, but I thought I'm going to ask him if I can photograph the Dalai Lama. Well, guess what? He gave me the number to call. Okay, then there were several steps. Security, they have to make sure you're a real photographer. I mean, it wasn't an easy thing, but they said, "All right, you can go to this invitation only event with only 50 people on this day." And I was there, but at the last second, this huge security guard, Tibetan security guard, said, "You can't go in, there's too many people." And he turned his head, and I snuck in immediately.
Of course you did. Of course you did. Don't tell me I can't do it until after I've done it.
Exactly. I thought I'm going to risk it. I got to, what the weddings taught me, you got to get the shot. There's no excuse good
Oh,
enough
you're
that you didn't
exactly,
get the shot.
exactly right. And I don't know if everybody knows this, but when you're a photographer, well, this is my experience. I'm not a professional, but when you're a photographer, like you don't see, you didn't see the wedding. Like you have to look at the tapes to see the wedding because right when they're kissing, you're snapping is and the shutter's going down. Right. I mean, I'm now speaking, probably mine is more of a lag, but it's a very interesting experience because people go, "Oh, how about that?" And I was like, I don't know. I got a picture of it though. I'll look back on it.
That's funny. Well, it is a different thing. It's not like you can really, you're looking at different things than what the people at the wedding are looking at. They're just having fun and having their drink. They're not,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not an easy thing to do. It's challenging.
It is. So you are best known for the humanitarian photography that you've done. Well, you're really well known for that. And worked on projects all around the world and taught
Hmm.
photography internationally, which I think is amazing, including private photo safari workshops. And this completely interests me because I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro in 2019. And before that, a week before that, we wanted to altitude train. And we were also, wanting to go on a safari. And so I just have to tell this little story and you will appreciate it. So I go to my local camera store because I had like a 50 to 150 zoom or something, 80 to 150 zoom or something. And it was a lovely little lens. And I go to my camera store and I say, I'm going on a safari. Can I rent a long lens? Who needs a
Mm.
buy? Can I rent a long lens? And the guy, oh, I think I just said, can I rent a long lens? And the guy goes, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going on a safari. And he just looks at me like with this somber look and he goes, oh, yeah. He says, you do not want to come back with little elephants. I thought I was going to die. It was hysterical. And so this is my
Good.
this is my lens. And
You got to have it.
if I don't mind saying, I had 150 to 500 millimeter. If I don't mind saying, I had some pretty nice photographs of zebras and giraffes and stuff. So anyway, but it's not about me. I just want to know how when would you decide, okay, I've done enough of this, like, because you're doing this nomad thing, right? You would just, pay your bills by offering a photography for a photograph workshop. How did you know how long to stay in one place? It was just your gut. And how did you progress around the world?
Okay, so actually, it was a different. Okay, here's what happened. My son invited me to Nepal where he was doing a volunteer project. So I went and did a volunteer project and offered my photography. I was teaching photography to the faculty of the biggest nonprofit in Nepal. I found out later. And that taught me that I could approach groups and offer to either teach, do photography as a volunteer basis. But the other thing that was important, I didn't start doing the private retreats internationally until I had traveled so much that I knew how long to stay in each location because I'd actually done it.
Smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
And
talked
so,
before. Yeah. You do things and then you lead people to do what you've done. Yeah.
yeah, because I feel like that's the way that I'm going to know that place really well. And some of the places I go back to over and over again because I love them so much and they're more set up. They're not only have the infrastructure, but they also have the appeal for like photography. And I also teach a yoga and writing retreat. And it just works for those things in a way that's very easy and fun. And I know my people are going to have a blast because I did.
Yes, of course. Of course. And then you stay with the same host. Oh, yeah, it's amazing. So, yes, you go with your son to Tibet, and then you ended up going to India. And of course, that's presumably where you stayed near the Ganges River and so forth, and met the Dalai Lama's, um, um, gatekeeper. And
Well, I spent a lot of time in India. I got a visa for 5 years. And so I was going back and forth from Nepal. Then I was, that first trip to India was just kind of a taste, a 3 week trip to India with my son. And then after that, I went back several times and stayed in the ashram and also lived down the street in an apartment from the Dalai Lama. So the thing is, as you're traveling, you figure out what places you love, where you probably won't go back to. It's just you're being curious.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So you have a place in history that so few people have, because the Dalai Lama, when he's teaching, it's really a very sacred space. So, and then you, of course, adopted some of these, centering practices, spiritual practices yourself. So talk to us as to how you inched in and what were your entry points, and then you just got deeper and deeper, and you were obviously, in sync, such that you respected him, and he definitely trusted and respected you.
Well, you're right. It was because I got more into my own investigation of spiritual, Buddhism, Hinduism. I wanted to find out. I was raised Catholic, but I didn't get all the answers I wanted as I was being raised. And so, I would go and stay at temples in Thailand, in Myanmar, in India, Nepal, and find out for myself what my entry point was meditation.
Yes.
And I've been doing yoga for 25 years. And I wanted to know what I could possibly learn from them. So the only way to do that, I felt, was to go stay with these enlightened masters. And they did teach me a lot. And I would either do photography for them or I would just be doing a meditation retreat. I just did a meditation retreat up in Northern California in Mount Shasta at a Zen Buddhist monastery. It's run by women monks who have been there
Love.
like 20 and 30 years.
Oh, what's the name of that? I want to know about that.
Yeah, Shasta Abbey. So what you can do with that one is you do an introductory retreat, and then once you do that, you can arrange to do a retreat, a personal retreat. And so you do meditation, you do a work period. And I'm going to go back. I hadn't been since before COVID, and I really got a lot out of it.
Shasta Abbey in Mount Shasta.
And yep.
I'm looking that up.
Yeah, look it up because they have a site and you can see the monks
Yeah.
speak every Sunday there. You can see the talks in the temple and get a feel for it and then do an introductory meditation retreat. So doing all of those things, like I spent 18 months in Asia for one, like I've been to Asia many, many times, but I did an 18-month one where I didn't leave. I just went to India, Nepal, Myanmar, Laos, Thailand. Am I leaving something out? And investigated. I mean, you can stay at so many temples and ashrams for a donation. You can
Sure.
offer to do something. What I would do is offer to do photography or writing or something else I needed. In the ashram I stayed at, I found myself in the school for their young priests, and I would just go in there and we'd do basically a comedy routine
Okay.
with me talking and getting them to talk. And it was really fun. And you make the most amazing connections. And see, that's the thing. When you're being curious and bold, you're going to go towards what you're interested in, not be, once you don't define yourself by your husband, your family, your children, your whole whatever your job, you start to discover who you are, and it's really exciting.
I think
And
of it as an unleashing, right?
unleashing, exactly. That's a beautiful word for it. And it's like if I didn't know that getting older would be this much fun, I would have done it sooner if I knew.
I love that. Now, rewind for us and tell
Okay.
us about your how long you contemplated kind of selling everything. Talk to us about that.
Oh, okay. All right. So this
Talk
was a
about uprooting.
significant step. I was in India at the time,
Yeah.
and I'd been renting out my apartment in the heart of Silicon Valley. So it was very well located. It was not a problem. This is before Airbnb.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Nothing like that. So I met the people, I got their background, everything. And so something happened where something, I mean, I don't need to go into it, but it was like something was, there was a problem with that. So I'm like, I don't want to. Oh, this was at the end of the 18 months in Asia, and I was like, I don't want to go back there and live there anymore. Was sitting there down the street from Dalai Lama, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to live that. I don't want to be there anymore. And so I thought, I'm just going to go back and sell everything and then just keep going. This is great. I love my life. I don't want to change it. And so I made that, now that you ask me, I'm sure I was affected by the Dalai Lama down the street and just knowing that it's like, this is what I want to do. That's not my life anymore. And it was just clear as I didn't have any reservations about it.
I think this is so rich, Mary, because uh, uh, the emphasis on the wrong syllable is something that I end up trapped in from time to time.
On the emphasis on what did you say?
It's kind of like the emphasis on the wrong syllable, right? So you're in this, ambiance of the Dalai Lama, in this spiritual womb, if you will, and you're
Yeah.
floating around, and you're soul centered, and then some little robbery or fire or something in your house out back in the States, and it's like that doesn't matter so much. I can do
Yeah.
without that. I'm not doing without this. And I think that those are pivotal moments. I congratulate. I completely get it. I completely get it. You're ensconced in this environment, and then to be dragged back into the nitty gritty, which is really small stuff. You just said no, not going to be dragged back.
Yes. And there were steps up to that point where I started turning down weddings because I thought, well, wait a minute. I wanted to be in India another couple months. I don't want to come back just to do that. Like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And so, that was a pivotal moment for me to turn down a wedding. And then one step led to the next. And then when I was there and knew that I had to go back and sell everything, the thing that actually gave me the most anxiety was thinking about selling stuff. I just thought, oh, It's going to be such a job. And it was, but it was also very liberating to actually come back, do it, get rid of the stuff, see the furniture leave, say goodbye to the jewelry, clothes, furniture, rugs, all this stuff I didn't need. I'd been living without it for 18 months. I didn't need it. The trip before I'd been gone 6 months and I came back after that. I was in South America and went all through South America by myself, by land in 6 countries. And when I got back from that, I'm like, who owns this stuff? Like I was sitting in my apartment. It didn't feel connected to me at all. So then when the next trip was the 18 months in Asia, that's when I could really let go. So I think
Sealed
it's
the deal.
yeah, sealed the deal. And so, now I see that there were steps and there were trips taken because maybe that does seem like too much for people to go, oh, I just can't sell everything and leave. Well, it took me a couple years to get there of being gone on very long trips and coming back and seeing, well, I don't really need all this stuff.
I think that's so critical. You've lived without it for this long. And so many of us have stuff packed away. Like I have been the executor of like 8 people's estates. And so we
Wow.
have, a lot to continue to sort through. And see that some of it is really beautiful things and they have sentimental meaning to me. And then some of it just does not. And yet it really takes time to go through that. And yet there are boxes in my attic that I haven't opened of people that have died, friends of mine. And I think to myself, you could just take that box and give it to Goodwill.
Yeah.
And I haven't done it yet, but I tell you what, kind of close because of that feeling of if I have been, now here we go. If I have been unleashed, I really don't want to be tethered again.
Exactly. That sounds like a book title.
I'm thinking it could be you could do a little story and photographs of it. So talk to us. You have all these books, and your best known work is Kitten Heels in Kathmandu. Adventure
Kathmandu, but
back
actually, yeah, Kitten Heels
Kathmandu.
and can't. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You apologize. I
Well,
apologize.
I was going to say that was my second book, but I think my fifth book, Around the World, What I've Learned from 11 Years of Solo Travel. I've written two since then, but that is photographs, and a lot of people liked that. And I did the audio. That was the first audio I did, and people really do like audio, which
Yeah.
makes me, I've got audio for a couple of books out of the six, but I think you can connect with people in a different way with the audiobooks. So that's
You,
kind of exciting. And then I
yeah.
don't know, maybe Everyday Naked, my first book, I don't know if you saw that. I
I
should put
did.
it
I did.
together.
And I wanted to ask you, so tell us about how you came upon Everyday Naked.
Well, okay, that's a story. So that was my very first book. And what I decided, I don't know if you've ever read the book, The Artist's Way.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay, so that had just come out. And so I thought, I'm going to start writing. I'm going to turn 40 soon. I'm 69 now. So I'm going to turn 40 and I better start writing. So I wrote every day for 5 years. And then this Maui Writers Conference showed up on my radar. And I'm like, I want to go to that. I'm going to pitch my book. And the hardest thing was doing the book proposal. But
Yeah.
I did the proposal, they accepted me. And I also did a screenwriting piece in there. Ron Howard was there. I got to meet him.
Exciting. Oh my
It
God.
was just such, and I think the best thing I got out of it, I actually did get a publishing contract out of going there after doing the proposal, meeting the person who did publish my book. It was traditionally published. And the book wasn't done. I had to go back and finish it, get someone to help type it. It was mostly handwritten, and I had to have it typed up
Yep.
because I didn't really expect someone would pay me to do a book on a lot of my writings. I mean, I could put it together and they accepted it and I got an advance and that made me see I'm a real writer. I was so completely astonished.
And affirmed. Absolutely. It's that affirmation that gets you over that can I, and
Yes.
and so talk to us about, I mean, the subject Everyday Naked, Sacred and Profane morsels of truth. All right.
Yes.
Just tease us with a couple sacred and profane morsels of truth.
Okay. I had a section in there, how to seduce your husband.
There you have it. There you have
I
it.
gave some good advice. Um, let's see. Oh, another chapter was getting to God without scotch. I mean, the San
I gotta
Francisco
pick this up.
Chronicle, yeah, the San Francisco Chronicle said it was funny, like Irma Baumbach, but more candid and edgy.
Oh, that's a good that those are first of all Irma Bombeck and edgier than Irma. Oh my gosh, amazing. Uh,
Yeah.
so that sounds like a real winner. And then the around the world, what I learned from 11 Year Solo. I think that was the next one, right?
No, that was actually my next one was
That's
Kitten
after
Hills
kids.
and Kathmandu because see, then I started traveling.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, now you've got the solo travel under your belt. Okay.
So actually, that is a good book because that was the first one I had the photographs in, and it did well. Kitten Heels and Kathmandu, Adventures of a Female Vagabond. And so that's got photos, and it really was a lot about how this new solo travel life started and all of these great things that happen. I mean, this is the thing. I didn't expect to, have my 20-year marriage end, but it did. And it launched me into a different dimension, which I don't think a lot of people talk about in a good way. Like, it can really open your life in a way that doesn't define you by who you're married to, your family, all of that. And when that happened, I mean, I'm not saying it was easy, it was horrible, but I wouldn't be traveling if that didn't happen. And I'm not saying you can't do it even if you're married because, a lot of husbands don't like to travel and I've addressed that in my on my YouTube channel. And a lot of people were saying, yeah, they can't because they don't have anybody to travel with, but it's like you can't define it by what someone else doesn't want to do, even if you're married. I mean, you have to see your life in this way as what do I want to do before I die? I mean, this is what Buddhism teaches. You got to think about
And
your
now.
time on earth and what you can do while you're here.
I'm so grateful that you're speaking of this, Mary, because a number of our people have been married and divorced, and certainly a number of them have been widowed. And so there's a sea of uncertainty, obviously.
Yes.
There's a tsunami of emotion typically. I mean, sometimes it's a relief for people and it's not, and it's whatever, but there's often a tsunami of emotion. And then you have some guilt and you have some regret, and you have some, and we have to get a little distance on it to look back. And even people that are survivors of their partner dying, I always know, I'm a certified grief coach, I always know that we're making some progress on the grief recovery trail when we can start talking about their beloved and recalling the beautiful memories instead of just the crying and the angst and the grief and the alone and I'm here and I'm not a missus anymore. But if we
Yeah.
start to relish and remember the great qualities, then it does sounds a little bit oxymoronish, but it actually brings that person kind of together with, in this case, their husband who's gone. But it kind of brings them together because now they're in this positive sense of, oh my gosh, when we saw that sunset over the Grand Canyon, and it just brings them into a wholeness. I mean, yeah, we're not going to waste more time wishing for a better yesterday. So I want you to speak about how our listeners who are 50, 60, 70, 80, and late 80s, how can we really get down to those serious questions, Mary, and moreover, answer those questions about what it is we want to do and we haven't yet done, and get over that bridge of hesitancy, fear, whatever, to just doing it without supporting Nike.
Yes. And I've been saying just do it for decades, even before they used it as a slogan, because you know what? I think we overthink.
Yeah.
And then here's what happens because I went through a pretty tough period after the breakup. However, let yourself go through it Let yourself feel all the emotions,
Feel it.
cry, everything. All my friends changed, got new friends. Everything changed in my life, moved, everything. And then two.com crashes.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, just face it, let it all happen, and then don't dwell in it. Don't stay in it forever. Let yourself feel all this stuff.
Mhm.
Then realize, okay, I can build a new life for myself starting now. And then the whole solo travel thing grew out of that because I really did want to investigate my own connection to the divine. And, once I went to Asia and discovered all these ashrams and temples and spiritual places, I mean, this isn't what we really have here in the United States in that same level of like everybody just is in that dimension over there. And you're like, oh, wow, okay. And it doesn't even have to be that. I think everyone has to make the choice that this is your life, this is your time in the world. And what are you going to do with your one wild and precious life? You get to decide, and you don't have to be defined by what your children expect, what your family expects, your spouse anymore. And I'm still working on this concept because I was just laughing with a friend of mine because I was saying how this person has said this in my life, this other one has said this. Like, these are all ideas for what I should do.
Yes, of
And
course, that big should pile.
and so it's like unasked for advice. Now, this might be the hardest part for people. Once you're on your own, it's sort of like everybody thinks they have a say in what you're going to do with your life, and they really don't. And
Isn't
maybe
that
the
true?
most,
Oh,
yeah,
thank you for
and
saying that. Oh, yes.
you know what I mean? And maybe the most difficult part is just getting to the place where you know what you really want to do and how you want to live your life and not listening to all of these opinions in the background. It's not their life, it's not their money, it's not their time. And then it goes back to, okay, what do you want to spend on in this life? What do you want to spend with your hours that you have? And so sometimes you have to tell people no because you can't do this thing they want you to do because it takes away from you finishing your book or going to Thailand or researching your trip to Europe. I mean, you have to really respect your time and be obsessed with what you want to do because I mean, the cool thing about getting older is, we're not going to get out of this alive, so let's enjoy every minute we have.
Right now. I couldn't agree with you more. And this, I've experienced this so much with widows in particular. Everybody has an idea. And I'll tell you, it was really sickening for the 9/11 widows because right across the river here in New Jersey from Manhattan. And just yesterday, we had a summit, and Abby Carter was on, and she was one of the women that I ended up as a partner in a $1 billion firm giving pro bono service to, financial services to, for a year. And the aspect of us kind of the United States, I think in particular. I think other cultures have, a much better, they have respect for their elders. And when women age, they're called crones and they're revered. And then several generations living in one household. And it's very supportive and loving. And we're really nowhere near that.
Mm-mm.
Hence, me putting together the We Can Do It Women Movement to bring women out of the sidelines, which society's kind of shuffled us over. They're like, oh, we're done with you because we get a younger model. And so this aspect of us turning a deaf ear, if you will, to all of the shoulds, because we get
Yes.
people telling the World Trade Widows, why aren't that they ventured out finally to church, and they're saying, why aren't you home on your couch crying? And if they're home on their couch crying, it's like, why aren't you in church? I mean, they could not do anything right. It
Yeah.
was horrible, a national tragedy, international tragedy, and people are just giving their advice like they've been there and done that. And I'm telling you what, I've written a book. My husband died now. What a Widow's Guide to Grief Recovery and Smart Financial Decisions. And chapter 3 is stupid ass things people say.
Stupid ass things people say. And you're going to get a lot of that.
And so let's keep our earplugs in. Let's put some AirPods in, turn it on, just noise cancel, and be about what it is we want. And I really am grateful for you bringing that up because uh sometimes our existing friends can stifle us. The old adage, whoever you're spending, the five people you're spending the most time with, that's kind of where you're sitting. And I'm so grateful for you to bring up the fact that you ended up getting new friends. It was twofold, I think, Mary. You're leaving, you're selling your stuff and you're leaving kind of for this spiritual, unleashing and this travel excursions, these excursions, as well as, coming home to yourself and your power. I mean, you must have some funny travel stories, and I think people get a little fearful. Oh, what if I get stranded in the middle of Delhi, India? Tell us a funny, well, probably wasn't funny then because sometimes it's very stressful, travel story internationally, because I'm sure you've had a lot of them.
Well, actually, the first one I thought of was in India when I stayed in this ashram, and it's right in the Ganga River. So in India, there's holy towns. So if you go to those towns, there's no bars, there's no alcohol.
Right.
And so I was in this place, and I went there with my son, and then I kept feeling like I should go back there. Like I had this very strong pull to go back there. And I didn't go that trip, but I went on another trip. And so I went back there, and I'm at this it's every night celebration on the Ganga River. They have these beautiful bronze things with fire coming out of. This is a
Of course,
Hindu
fire.
thing.
Yeah.
And singing and chanting and stuff, and there's a big fire, and it's just beautiful. It's better than a happy hour. And so at the end of it, I noticed this girl that looks very familiar to me. And I'm like, oh my God, is that it? It looked like the girl that she went to Stanford University, and she used to babysit my son when we would do the weddings.
Oh
So
my.
I go up to her and I said, is your name Phoebe? And she said, it used to be. She's wearing a long flowing white gown. And guess what? She's in charge of this ashram, which is the biggest ashram in India. And
Oh,
she's written several books now. She's been there over 30 years. Anyway, she's a best-selling author now. She wasn't at the time, but this was like what, 12 years ago, 15 years ago?
oh my gosh.
And it was so amazing because it was her. And I hadn't seen her in several years. So it's a fun story for me because you never know who you're going to meet and how your life is going to change. And seeing her, so that was the reason I was pulled back there. So we were there a whole time in Rishikesh. It's the birthplace of yoga, and all these saints and sages
Yes,
come there.
I've heard that.
And we didn't we probably even saw her, but we didn't even know it was her. And so it really made me see how you have to trust your inner guidance about if you want to travel, do it. All of the steps will come in. It doesn't even see. The thing is, I used to go on these luxury, super fancy trips before I started traveling more like, okay, I'm going to travel like I live there and rent an apartment and
Yes, like
not
one
go
of the
out.
locals, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot more fun because you meet people that live there. You're not just meeting tourists. And it's fun to meet tourists too. But just saying that it's like if you live like the people that live there, you're going to have a much better experience. And that's what the volunteering and staying in the ashrams, because you meet local people and you find out what life is really like there.
Well, that's the richness of it. And I know that the first time I go someplace new, typically like on the plane, someone is to the destination we're flying. I say, okay, you're from there. And then I guess get really good local places from them. And
Yeah.
your aspect of dealing solo, running around solo. I mean, traveling full time, you say is not a crime. That was one of your other books, Living Dangerously. Traveling full time is not a crime. I want to kind of deal with this crime thing though, because I
Okay.
was reading uh,
Okay.
a lot of the Chinese government, they would actually imprison people that were photographing the Dalai Lama. So I just kind of wanted you to speak a little bit about how you kind of, navigated your way through, being or maybe arrested. I mean, it was a significant risk.
Well, okay. So this was in his hometown.
Yes. Okay.
So Dharamsala, India is where, see what happened when he left Tibet was India was the only place that was like, you know what, Dalai Lama, you can have this place called Dharamsala up on top of the, like nobody went there.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
was like in 1950 something. And so that's where they went. And then all these other Tibetans followed him there, but there was nothing there. It wasn't like the tourist thing that is now.
Yeah.
So he's safe, well, safe. I mean, he has all these security guards that surround him when he does a public thing. That's the hardest thing. You got to deal with these people that are rough and tough. And they're like, get away from them. And, I'm like, I got a press pass. They're not, they don't care. They don't give you any special.
They don't want to give you any elbow room.
Yeah. And, at this event that the second time I photographed him with 10,000 people, I mean, I had to really, the weddings was a good way to train for that experience because I didn't, get pushed around. They tried, but, I resisted. But you would be in trouble in certain places. But here's
Okay.
the thing about safety. Yeah, if it was China, it
Yeah.
would be a different story. But this
Okay.
was actually India where he lives. And you have to get, like, I had to have a press base. You can't just bring your
Oh, yeah.
phone and camera and take pictures. I mean, that's
No,
still.
not at all. Now, frame for me. He won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1989. When were you photographing him? Like before then and after, or what?
Oh, after. So this was like I did it in 2009. I
Okay.
think that was the first time, and then a couple years later I did it.
Okay, great.
And both times were in India. I probably Stanford actually called me to photograph him, and this was like several years ago, and they said, "Well, what would you charge?" So I told them. But they didn't want to pay. But I did already photograph him in India. This was the actual, well, it was funny because I think it was before the India photography when I did it because I wanted to. And you have to get a press pass. And I felt like, well, that's even more amazing to do it in India. So,
Yes, exactly.
but yeah, in terms of the safety, you have to be careful. I mean, I've changed a lot in terms of how I approach my travel. Like I did a lot of wild things like going all through South America by myself over land on buses. I don't
Yes.
think I do that now.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I did it. It was an amazing experience. I'm not saying you shouldn't because you definitely could. Um, you just have to be super aware of your surroundings and let people know where you are and stay in places that you feel safe in. I've stayed in some places where I'm like, I think I'm going to leave tomorrow because I don't feel that great about this place. And then I would.
Yeah, yeah, that's smart. That's smart.
Yeah.
So talk to us about what you might say to your younger self. Let's talk about your 30-year-old self. What advice
Okay.
would you give to her right now, knowing what you know?
Okay. Knowing what I know now, I would say take more risks. Don't be as safe. Don't overthink everything. Just do it and see what happens. The first time I ever approached an angel investor, I was writing screenplays at the time and I wanted to finance. One of my colleagues said, "Why don't you pitch this angel investor?" And I'd never done that before. So I took him out to this fancy lunch. I'd never done that before.
Yeah.
And and I pitched them.
Yeah.
And it's like you learn by doing the thing you're afraid of.
Always. Yeah. Always
You're
action.
never going to learn that in a book. Like, yeah, you can learn some steps to take, but, and, and I help people in my consultations, but until you actually do it, you're not learning in that way of actually having the practical knowledge of what it feels like to do it.
And that wellspring, I think, that's just like a simple feather or something on this. Sorry, that wellspring that comes up, and it's like, I got it. You know,
You,
yeah, yeah, I'm worth being here. I'm worthy. I'm enough, right? And I so applaud you because you're right. I mean, sometimes people want me to, lay out every single step for them how to go from here to financial security. Well, even if I were to do it, and I certainly could. Who was it? Someone said yesterday, your 5-year plan, and she used the F word, which I don't typically use. She just said, screw that 5-year plan, but we're not going to know steps 6, 9, 11, and 12 in any aspect of our life. I mean, you're not going to know if you're still going to be healthy and mobile, you're not going to know if you're going to lose some mental acuity. And so I think it's incumbent upon us to be as active and as expansive as we can while we can, because it could end up starting to cave in and get smaller. And why live, 2 decades in a small capacity, in a small little container? If someone put us in this small little container, most of us are a little claustrophobic. Me, I would be busting to get out of there, right? And then someone says, "Hey, how about this opportunity?" They're like, "Yeah, well, never did that before. I don't know. I have to check with somebody." And I just say, check with your subconscious. It sounds like that's been your lead advisor, of course, infused with spirit, Holy Spirit, God, whatever your beliefs. And yet check in with yourself and find out what it is that's going to be able to be ignited, little ember that you can fan. And then you're going to start to, it's kind of like you're shifting into a whole different gear. Oh my gosh, you surge of power right in your car and in ourselves. And then we see different opportunities. But until we say it's okay to take this risk and go ahead and take a couple, and if we skin our knees on one or two of them, we get back up and we slap a band-aid on it and we say, no, I gotta go for more, because guess what? It was interesting. It slowed me down, but it didn't kill me, and I'm waiting to see what else I can see. That's just my outlook, and I just espouse that kind of sense of adventure as you do, and it's kind of, I don't know, it is an intuition, I think. And then of course you see
oh,
these places
definitely.
and you just want to keep exploring, right? And you photographing them.
Well, it's interesting. I have photographed in these different countries, and you realize, like, the weddings really taught me how, I mean, I always did nature photography, but when you're trying to photograph people in another country, they didn't give you permission to do it.
Oh,
So
I
you have to
know.
come up with some tricks.
Oh, you do. Yeah. Long lens. You're on the other side of the street. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Got you.
Not even, I don't even do that. I actually face the person and I have an interaction with them because I want them to be okay that I'm going to take a half a second to take a picture. I only take one,
Yeah.
two at the most.
Yes.
But but the thing is, it's taught me how to. So my strategy was I, would make small talk with the person and then take on my camera for half a second and take a picture with film even. And I got really good pictures that way. But the bigger thing I learned was that you can talk to anybody that you feel okay about. See, this is what you don't do if you're going with somebody else or if you're going in a group. You don't talk to real people that live there. And the more I did that, the more my experience got more rich. Like this last time, I've been to Sicily. This is my seventh time. And every single time I go, this was like the time when I really mingled a lot and tried out Italian and met expats and met people that live there and tried to talk to the grocer in the market and everybody. And I did it, I tried a lot harder than I usually do. And it really enhanced my experience in a way that made me really sad to leave because I didn't want to go. I had such a good time.
Yeah.
it was just, it's funny how you can even return to a place over and over, and each time is a different experience because you're getting deeper into it. So now my approach, I mean, I still go to new countries that I've never been to, but I enjoy so much going back to places I love that I already know some people. I already know what neighborhoods are great, and I get to experience them again. And, there's not a place like that in the United States where I'm going. Like,
Yes. Yes. So all the more rich to capture it. Yeah.
the food, the people, the language, everything is so different. Sicily, I discovered because my grandfather was born there, so I wanted to go back and check out my ancestry. I didn't even know I would fall in love with that island like I did.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So
But
yeah, when you eat their food and everything else, you become one of them. Like if you go into these restaurants and you order the humdrum like something American, right? It's just the whole staff has to be like, but if you say, what is I always say, what's indigenous here if I have a guy,
yeah, yeah.
what are you doing here? And I'm telling you, I have had some excellent food.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Y- I'm still trying stuff in Sicily that I've never tried before. Like I tried granita for the first time, and it comes with this brioche that you put the ice cream on the bread. Like it sounds crazy, but it's delicious.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, tell me your favorite food in Sicily.
Oh, so the arancini, which is this rice ball deep fried, and it's either got cheese or meat in it. And then the pastries. Oh my God. And the bread, because you buy fresh bread every day and there's no additives in it. And then the cheese and the wine. Oh, and here's what I discovered in France. I'm going to buy that champagne because it's pretty affordable when it's made just down the street. And, you can get the littler bottles. Boy, does it taste good. They know how to make champagne.
Yes, they
And
do.
oh my gosh. I
And
mean,
they don't
so
put all those sulfates in the wine, so you can drink a lot of wine and not go under.
And they also have less alcohol content
Yeah,
in Europe.
both of those things. Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
rich. So yeah, that you buy the small thing of champagne because then of course you lose some of the bubbly. Um, and some people call people that don't even finish like a little tiny, what do they call it, a half flight or something,
A lightweight.
an underachiever. Someone's like, give me a bottle stopper for champagne, and they're like, are you an underachiever? I think that's a very funny statement. So, talk to us about what you're going to do next. Do you have your mind set on something, going back to another place you've been, or is what's still out there
Okay.
calling
Yeah.
your name?
Okay. So I went to the French Riviera this last time and I had no idea. I'd never been there. I really liked it. So I am very under traveled in that whole area. I've only been there once. I always take a direct flight to Paris to get to Europe. And my big tip for everybody is that if you can get a direct flight to a major hub, then you can take a train or a cheaper discount flight. You don't have to go right to the city you've got to go to. And then you get to experience something else. So, what I want to do this time is go back to Paris, then take the train down to Nice like I did, do some more exploring. And then I want to take the train all through Italy, all the way down to Sicily, because I haven't done a lot of things in the north. I've never been to Venice. I've never been on the East Coast. I've done a lot of research. There's like Bari and Puglia and Bologna and
Yeah.
um, an marché that nobody's ever heard of, and it looks incredible. Like tourists just don't seem to go there, and so do that. That's going to be. I've done a lot of train travel in Italy, but I've never really done it in the north so much. Just the most north being like Florence and Cinque Terre. And now I'm ready to do some things that I haven't done before. And plus, I can say, use my language I do know. But the problem is you only get 3 months as U.S. citizens. I got to extend that somehow.
Exactly. I think there was somebody, well, everyone was advertising when here a few months back, and I thought that there was some little window where you could get like a duel with some of the European countries for longer than the 3 months. But we'll want to check that out.
Well, there's different visas like digital nomad, there's retirement, but you can't work. And I do still work. And I recommend people keep working if they like what they're doing, because that always ensures that you can have some income. Because
No,
being financial, I came late to the financial party. I've had to figure that out just in the past 10 years. And I'm okay now, but boy, I wish I'd started sooner.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know, but you can always start. And, part of doing this is having the financial part work
Yes.
and feeling like you're empowered and you have your own independence.
Well, I am so delighted to speak with you and to share some of these experiences. I'm sorry I kind of hogged some of the interview myself, but the similarities and whatnot, the trying everything and being adventuresome. I am kind of, uh, I think, a nomad at heart at some level. And so I am so blessed that you've been courteous enough and generous enough to share with us your time, your experience, and this experience with the Dalai Lama. I mean, that is so incredible. I mean, you could just have your great and great and great grandkids if you have them now, kids and stuff that talking about, well, grandma was photographing the Dalai, the Nobel Peace. I mean, this is like, you got real chops now, sweetheart.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. That was a milestone for me. It really was. And then the second time, I didn't tell you this, but the second time I didn't expect him to remember me because I only shot him for a little bit. And so he saw me in the crowd and he waved to me. And I got a picture of him waving to me. And I'm like, oh my God, he's looking right at me. Wow. He
Oh,
remembers people.
oh my gosh. And I want to say to you, I'm so grateful. I actually have a picture of my mom waving. I kind of posted it because I know how important it is, right? And I take video of loved ones because after they're gone, just hear their voice and to see their face move when they're talking or hear them singing, it's just precious. And so I certainly suggest to anybody listening, if you don't have certainly photographs, but if you don't have some video of the people around you that you love and revere, I say you grab that, candid or not. But when that picture of the Dalai Lama looking straight into your camera and your eyes and the wave as after he's gone and he's like going to be waving to you in across the veil.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, do the video because I've been doing a lot more video and it does bring it back in a way that is more like your dream come true kind of thing.
Yeah. And these moments captured, um, like when anyone in my family dies, they always call me like, show me a good photograph because I do. I have good photographs of everybody, right? And so let's think ahead. Let's plan ahead. So Mary planned ahead. She started out, she wasn't intending on divorcing, ends up divorced, and says, how can I now, create my next chapter? And she did it and she pursued it and she continued to expand herself and ends up photographing the Dalai Lama and traveling all through India and the world and deepening her spiritual resolve. So these are bucket list kinds of things, and the invitation I give to everybody is to be like Mary. Follow your dream, whether it's travel, whether it's in pursuing a new career, whether it's taking on a hobby. I want us to be alive. I want us to be enlivened about something. And if we start something and it's not quite our cup of tea, we can back off of it and say, try that. I'm going here instead because there's no elixir. I mean, our tastes may change. And so let's be in the moment and satisfy our, wanderlust if we have it, satisfy our homebody if we want it, satisfy
Yes,
desire to be closer and more centered in ourselves. And I think that that is going to be a very good investment. So, Mary, thank you so much
exactly.
for being with us. We'll put your contact information in the show notes. Basically, is there a website or an email in particular or your podcast? So,
Yeah, yeah, actually there is. I wanted to offer viewers one-on-one sessions I give, and I can extend the not raising the price for the next week. So I have that link, and then I also have retreats. and I have a Substack newsletter where you can follow what I'm doing, get inspired. You can be a part of it and be a member of the community, or you can do a free subscription. But that has a lot of information about traveling and changing your life. So yeah, I'll send you those links.
Please do, or if you want to just throw them in the chat right now as I close us out. So thank you, Mary, for joining us. And thank you, each and every one of you, for looking in live or into the recording, for joining us on the We Can Do It Women show. Remember, I see you. I value you. And your greatest chapter is just beginning. If today's episode sparks something in you, I invite you to consider coming with me and hopefully 9 others to the south of France, Agen, where we retreated last year at a refurbished chateau of Abby Carter, who happened to be on our summit yesterday. And we are going back. It was such a rich experience. An on-premises chef prepared every single meal, farm to table, and prepared meals for various dietary limitations and so forth. So he came out with, and the array of beauty on that table. I was like, I don't even want to cut it, but then it was so delicious. We cut it and ate it, of course. So that is amazing. Abby brings in a sommelier with area wines and so forth. Her chateau is so welcoming. I want you to think about it, Mary. This is going to be epic. And the link for it is wecandoitwomen.com/retreats. wecandoitwomen.com/retreats. I'll put that in the show notes. And
Nice.
we are taking interest kinds of signups right now, because the first early adopters are going to be able to choose their room and stuff like that. It's just going to be a lot of fun. Plus, we're gonna I'm going to invite everybody to join me, because I'm going to learn some French before we go this time. So maybe a few of us will do this kind of French language learning a little bit, because I like to expand my horizon and I want to know more of what these people are saying when we're at the market and we're at a visiting chateau, etc. So this is going to be completely rad. And I am going to give workshops every morning on how to make money, how to create your own wealth. And if you are a little lean on money right now, or you imagine you might be going into the future, and no one's really taking you by the hand and step by step and said, this is how you do it, then that's exactly what we did last year. And everyone left with an account, and everyone is still saving systematically, and they're blown away at how much they've saved and invested for themselves. And you know what it's due to? Well, a good teacher, without putting them into potholes. And yet the intention, focusing in, narrowing our focus on that camera lens and on the lens of our lives to our intention of building some safety net for ourselves, embellishing our net worth, doing whatever it is that's lacking, you feel is lacking, at least financially. I do that in the morning. We're pretty much, running around in the afternoon. We've got massages happening. We've got all kinds of opportunities, and the opportunity to be on the French countryside and look at the landscape. So I invite you to pop over to wecandoitwomen.com/retreats and join us. And until next time, pay attention to your money and it will pay you back.
That's right.
Take good care.
Thank you so much, Deborah. I really had fun. Thank you.